Hey there, something I want to talk about today that I have been reminded about a lot looking around at things online and in stores too and things like that. And that is the state of comic books. And what we see today is this huge empire driven by money, profit. Most of it coming from, started off with Marvel, Silver Age. Of course, as I've said before in the beginning, Marvel wasn't making any money, wasn't popular. So what they were doing was really just more or less doing whatever they felt like creatively. And there are many reasons why that took off, which I've discussed before. Stan Lee likes to take a lot of credit, tries to take all the credit for creating all the characters. Don't think that's true. I think basically they needed each other, but without Kirby there would have been no pictures, there would have been no visuals, nothing. So Stan could run his mouth and he could do the marketing and things like that and create a fan base and, you know, all that. His soapbox. So, but anyway, what do we have today? And one thing that I noticed quite a bit is comic covers. So back then, what you'll notice with covers, and to Kirby, the covers were not important. He didn't care so much about the covers because when you're telling a story, it's about the story and you want people to read the story. So the covers back then, they would have a sense of mystery about them to pique your curiosity, to lead you into the story, to get you to open the book, get past the cover, and actually read it. Nowadays, hardly anyone talks about reading comics anymore. So if you put in any specific comic or whatever search you do online, it's actually very difficult to find pages from a comic. Oh, you'll find covers, but you won't find the pages. And then to contrast the covers that we have these days from those other covers, which were not meant to, they were just meant to, as I said, pique your curiosity. The covers today, and this did start with Marvel because they got to the point where they were trying to get, you know, the covers to be flashier and more flamboyant and more action and things like that. The editors, people in charge, thought that that was a better thing to do. Kirby didn't care, of course he knew better. So anyway, what that's evolved into, and it didn't take long. It did not take long. It happened back at the end of the Silver Age, where basically the covers, they were trying to pack so much action, so much drama into the covers that basically, what's the point of reading it? You've already amped everything up to 10 or 11. So what can the story possibly, you know, how much more dramatic can it be than this cover? So that was a big mistake, basically giving away too much or trying to basically, in an act of desperation, to try to over dramatize the cover. So what you see now is covers. And they have gotten super dramatic in a very dumb way. And then also, they have become crammed, jam-packed, crammed with figures usually. So it's a clusterfuck. And you'll see a lot of this on these covers where you don't even know how many figures there are. You got to kind of stop and count. And they're all overlying each other, in front, behind, you know. They're either flying at you or in combat or something, but you know, it's it's not functional. It sure doesn't make anyone want to read the book. And of course, this is why these days with comics, people just stick them in the bag and forget about it. So over time, it's kind of a shame what happened, you know, because as a child, a kid, young teen, whatever, you know, you come across comics like I did back around 69 or so, and it was a wonderful experience. You know, I had a stack of comics, and I would lay in bed on my side like this, and I'd have a stack here, and I'd read them and then put them over here, and you know, I'd go through the whole stack. And I wouldn't say they're necessarily like movies, but you know, you got caught up in the storylines, the continuity of them. So anyway, as with Marvel, once it became about money, then that changed everything. And nowadays, it's basically all about money also. So this model is designed to exploit that, exploit the readership. It's not really about entertainment anymore. It's about several different things, all of which are unhealthy. So it's about collecting, which is a kind of obsessive compulsive behavior. It's about escapism, you know, people trying to return to a pleasure state that they experienced when they were young. Repeat that over and over again. Of course, it doesn't happen. They don't get the pleasure from it. It becomes diminished, but then they may keep repeating it. And other things like that. And a lot of very bad stuff. You know, another very bad thing that happened with Marvel was, and I was really out of it at this point, but I've heard about it from elsewhere, that Marvel was creating all these different universes and characters, just shit tons of characters. And some people saw it as, you know, a creative explosion that was a good thing. And actually, I don't think that's what it was at all. I think that from a creative perspective, a business perspective, that basically what they were trying to do was to create as many superheroes as possible so that other people could not use those words. So basically, if you go through the dictionary and you're looking for words that could potentially be a superhero character, say Gambit or something like that, probably there's a limit on those, unless you just start, you know, making up something off the top of your head that hasn't existed before. So I think that's basically what happened. So it's like we want to invent characters with these names so that someone else can't, and thereby compete with us. So it was, in a sense, sort of greed to basically eat up everything, you know, eat the whole field, basically, of potential characters. So that's not good either. And other things happened. British writers came in. Neil Gaiman was one. Neil Gaiman has a lot of talent. There's another guy whose name escapes me. You know, and the question is, I've talked about this before, this separation of, you know, splitting comics into writers and artists. It's really unhealthy and sick, because I don't consider myself I write and I am an artist, but I'm a creator. I'm a comics creator. So when you divide it up, what happens to the artist? The artist is just a pair of hands for the writer. The writer tells the artist what to do, but then again, the writer can't design a page, can't draw, doesn't know how comics work, how a page works. And at some point, I hope to do some instructional content about how comic pages do work. And that is, well, say for example, there are axioms, just as I teach in painting courses that I do. And the question might be, what most attracts the eye in a panel? And assuming it's not just black and white art, in that case it would be contrast, the thing that most attracts the eye is the largest object. So if you apply that and go back and look at some comics, you know, you could look at Kirby or whatever, and it's like this panel, oh, wait a sec, yeah. My eye's going to the largest thing first, the largest character or the head that's talking, and you go elsewhere afterwards. And so that's the artist intentionally leading your eye from point A to point B, and then you'll have an exit point from the panel where it can go easily travel from one panel to the next panel and so on. So writers don't know how to do any of that. And this is one of the reasons I quit doing comics, because, you know, writers would have people speaking in a certain order, but then, wait a minute, you're reading left to right, so, you know, you got to figure out how to make their continuity work in a visual sense. And it's a big pain in the butt. Right? Much better to do things a different way. Now, having said that, I've scripted my own stuff. I've worked from scripts, my own scripts, you know. But I've also improvised and sort of done it what they call the Marvel way, which is that you tell the story visually and then come in later and add captions and things like that. And that actually can work very, very well because it plays to the strengths of the medium. So anyway, I've been going about 12 minutes now, 11, 12 minutes. And that's kind of my take on what's happening. It's not really very good. What's happened with the comics is a lot of people come in, they're young, they're immature, let's say. I mean that in a nice way. They're enthusiastic, but they don't understand the storytelling mechanics, techniques properly, and they may not have life experience, which is giving them a story to tell. So it's dysfunction on a lot of different levels, and I always pick up broken glass out here when I see it, so people won't step on it. But yeah, a lot of dysfunction, and in a way, you know, you shouldn't be too surprised about that, considering the way our society is and the way the culture is. But you know, can anything be done about it, or are the inmates basically running the asylum at this point? And I guess probably they are. So anyway, I guess that's it. I think I covered it. I do like to talk about these things that are going through my head, because once I make a video, it's over. I don't dwell on it anymore. So thanks for watching.